Welcome to CyberTalk with InfosecTrain. I am Anas, and today we are back again with one of a crazy episode of how to become CISO or what's this life of CISO. I not talk about that in very that depth way, but let's dive into the topic that many of our listeners dream about becoming. That's we call Chief Information Security Officer, or we call CISO. We are incredibly fortunate. I'm very happy to announce to have with us Mr. Siva Ramakrishnan, who brings over 25 years of experience in transforming security landscape at major enterprises. Welcome aboard you, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good, Anas. Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
As a CISO, you would also have a responsibility of giving back to the community. So this
Right.
session of the topic which you choose for the session was really interesting, and I hope the listeners are taking some good feedback and then they are able to use it in their life.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. You was very nice to that. Let's say we will introduce today because commonly we got to know that Mr. Siva Ramakrishnan used to be called by his colleagues and his friends like Siva sir. So we will be also using you in the entire session, Siva sir. Hope you be comfortable with that.
I'm okay. I'm okay to call me Shiva. No issues at all.
Okay, okay, no problem. Perfect. So we'll cover everything from essential skills to common pitfalls. And so that's most interesting. So let's start with some basics. Many of our listeners probably have a picture a CISO day filled with technical reviews, security audits. So let's paint us a picture why it is so important and also what are the typical day actually look like. So over to you, Mr. Siva.
Okay. So, Anas, even before going into that question, right, I think one point, I don't know. We have now listeners because of social media, you have extremely short time span for listening to anything, right?
Right,
So, if there is a takeaway I want to give it to this listeners here, I want to put it in the first rather than in the last,
right,
right? Like the one
right.
point before answering your question, I want to put it. So, if you have read about Indian mythology, or if you have read about religion as a book, right? There is a one guy whom you will not miss with the name Atisha. There is a lot of
Oh.
writers with the name Atisha. So Atisha is a Buddhist guru. Okay,
Hmm.
so he's I think around 1000 AD he was there, right? So
Okay.
Atisha is different from lot of other monks and religious gurus because usually you grow up in one religion, one belief, and then you come up and that for the enlightenment, right?
True.
But here,
True.
if you see Atisha tried every other the subset of Buddhism. In fact, he
Okay.
even tried Saivism and Vaishnavism to look into
Okay.
each one of those paths, how it helps you to reach to the enlightenment. So yeah, this course is, this conversation is about security, not about enlightenment, not about spirituality. But I want to took that as an example to tell you this, right? So all
Definitely.
this, he concluded in the end. He has created one subset himself, but he concluded in the end stating that all these religions takes you to the same path. All this, it is like top of the hill is your enlightenment. You go it in
Right.
different path to reach into the same enlightenment. Right? That's what he has concluded. But where I
Mhm.
am referring that here is, if my listener here who is talking to us now, he is a
Right.
SOC analyst, he is an ethical hacker, assume that he is a GRC consultant,
Correct.
irrespective of your path, you don't think that, okay, if I am a GRC guy, I can't become a CISO. If I am a blue teamer, I can't become a CISO. No.
Hmm.
Irrespective of a path you choose in security, you can be a CISO, right? So all these
Right.
answers I'm trying to give you would help you to reach there. So I just want to make this a point to all of my listeners that there is no showstopper, irrespective of you being anything in InfoSec, that you can reach to CISO position. There is no showstopper. I just want to make
That's true.
right. Now, coming back to your question, the first question you asked about how your day look like, right? It's a
Yeah.
very interesting question. I have to think through for some time to even answer that question, right? So
Okay.
I'll start from the beginning of a day, right? Like I'm an early riser, so
Okay.
my team tease me that whether I sleep or not, but I usually sleep well. I wake up like 4:30, 4:45 in the morning. Okay,
Sounds
and all the
interesting.
productivity guru tells against this. They say that you have to leave the mobile outside your bedroom. You should not look into the blue screen in the morning, all those being told. But
Right.
being a CISO, it's not possible. So I switch off my alarm. I pick up my phone. I look into my notification. Is there any incident? Is there any issues? Is there any
Uh,
escalation? Is the first thing I do. Okay. Then I follow the productivity gurus. I leave the phone there. I come out, finish my morning chores, open up my laptop. I
right.
open up my laptop, look into all the things which was overflowing from the previous day for the
Hmm.
teams to respond. So I go to my leads. I have the different chat groups. I have different Slack communities where I have to respond.
Okay.
So I pick up, I give my team, give my managers different things we want to close. Yesterday's spillovers, today's things to complete, any escalation, I put it on.
Mhm.
And by the way, this is all async. I don't do everything synchronized because if I have to get up early, I have to ask my team to also get up early. That's not the intent. Right. So I
True.
also set the expectation with them. I put in my comments in the morning 5 o'clock. Doesn't mean that you have to respond now. When you start
Right.
your day, you can respond it. So I set that expectation there. Then some exercise and everything. Then I start to my office. When I have to reach, I reach there. So when I reach office, it's a different story. We would have different things to do, right? Like I do connect meetings for different. I have different sections. With that leads, I may do some connect meetings. I may have any escalations or updates needs to be given to my boss. I do that. Then I may have meeting with my customers. We may have some auditing where we have to attend, because that depends upon the type of the audit. You may need also CISO to be
Mhm.
part of those conversation. I do that.
Okay.
Then I talk to my customer CISOs, right, or my customer CXOs, where they have a requirement, they come to us. I have scheduled a meeting with them. Then if there is any triage on any incident, I would be part of it. This is all I will do. That's a way it would run if I have to tell it honest.
That sounds interesting. It seems to be look you being the most flexible leaders amongst all the society and amongst the entire group you're gonna be leading there with people. One of the quality which actually Caesar has gonna be that's being the leader to take the responsibility first and then shifting to someone else. That's interesting, Mr. Deva. But along with this, one more thing that comes to our mind that how much time you spend on technical issues versus the business strategy, because the position you are actually leading, it needs a lot of leadership skills.
Okay, so that's a good question, right? Like there is a book with the name "Hard Things About Hard Things." If you pick it up, there one of the chapter. So this is about how to be a CEO, run a startup is the book. Of course, I'm using a reference of that for the CISO, right? So there is a chapter where he mentions that a war CEO versus peace CEO, because the way you work between these two is completely different. The same thing is applicable in a company also. It depends upon the phase in your company is, right? So if you are an established company which has have regulations to follow, you are a PCA. It is only about you act as a phase gate, right? You stop it or you allow it to go, right? That's what it is. So it depends upon which phase it is in. So in our situation where I am in, 70% goes in technical and 30% goes in business strategy. But it is not the flat plateau all through the year. It keeps changing. Like the way it goes in is sometimes you may have to switch. So you may have an acquisition coming up. You may have a new regulation coming up. Then suddenly all things change, right? Then you have to put your strategy in front. Your technical take a back seat. So usually it is 70 in technical, but based on the situation, it keeps changing at us.
Really sounds
Another thing,
interesting.
yeah,
Okay, how you
yeah.
used to manage things. I'll also try to implement this 30-70 ratio, which is really interesting. You have explained that's. I mean, doesn't matter at what role we are, but I think technicalities and strategies are always almost are there. So with this, there's another thing we want to know what's the most unexpected part being a CISO that no one talks about.
Okay, see this every CISOs know, but not everybody speaks about it. But since
Okay.
this session is about somebody to become a CISO, I have to talk about it, right? So your key skill to have in this is about negotiation. So how much
Okay.
you can negotiate to get things done. So this
All right.
negotiation may be with your auditor, be with your customer, be with your peer, engineering peers, right? Like because see, everybody have their own priority. So for you, for things to be better in your governance, better in your compliance, better in your security baseline, you have to tell them why it is. You have to negotiate with them how fast it can. So
Right.
that is first negotiation, right? Next it comes empathy. So
Oh,
again, this is not somebody who talks about it. Like people usually think that you're like a police officer, right? You have to go and then find people and then you have to penalize them. No, you have to put empathy there. You have to see that why he is doing that, why he is
right.
doing that activity. That you have to look for it, right? Then of course you need to have a lot of patience. So if you don't have patience, you will be very difficult. So your BP will shoot up. So you don't want to end up in dying in your desk in your office, then you need to have a lot of patience. And you know that it's a long play. You can't do it in a day. You can't move the mountains in a day. You have to do one step at a time, then you will get it. So this is all something which every CISO knows, but I don't know whether we widely talk about it. Yeah, that's a point.
That's interesting that you said about this. Once we want to repeat to all our viewers that the way Seva sir has mentioned about the negotiation, empathy. Along with that, you also mentioned about the patience. These are three key skills which usually follow down with CISO, but unfortunately, it missed out to be discussed. Thank you for bringing this on the light. Let's say all of a sudden a security incident happened. Now, there is an insecurity incident happen, and how does now your routine changes up? Like you said, you wake up at early morning at 5 a.m. The incident happened at 2 a.m. How do you prioritize now those situations if your routine gets hampered because of any security incident?
All right. So, if you're using a Android or a Apple smartphone today, I think you would remember before 3 years, there were 2, 3 years before, right? There is no way to stop a beep. If
Oh,
somebody is messaging you at the night, you will get the beep, right? Like your WhatsApp message or an SMS, you get the beep notifications.
right.
And over a period of time on the work life balance and everything, now it stops. Now, like when you switch off your light, when you stop interacting with your phone, the beeps doesn't come in. So in the morning when you pick up the phone, the beep starts coming in. Until that, it doesn't come, right?
Okay.
So I. So for me, when I'm talking about that time, right, when it starts coming in, even that
Hmm.
SMS beeps, right? You just need three beeps for me to wake up. So one
Okay.
beep, I will still sleep. You hear the three beeps, nobody will know. I would know. I will just get up. So because
Yeah.
it's so conditioned inside you that something is happening, you need to be there, right? So
Hmm.
that comes in. So 24/7, irrespective of where I am, what I am doing. If there is a incident, I will drop everything. I will get into that. There is a war room we set up usually in incident, irrespective of this company, any company where I work for, we set up a war room to know what is the incident. I would
Okay.
be the first person there, right? So I would look into when I get into it. So there is different phases again. So today I'm a CISO. Once upon a time, I would be doing the triaging. I will run the entire show. I have been doing it. But now,
Hmm.
after this role, right, because if I drop everything, then something priority also goes back. So when I get into that, I look into what has happened first, what is the
Right.
impact, what is the priority, right? So it is some of the incidents priority will be low, some of the incidents priority would be high. Based on that, I decide that some incidents the war room cannot be even closed until the incident is completely that. Then I need to be there. Then in some
Okay.
incident where we see that the priority is low, then I allow it for my incident responders to look into what they will handle it. I will step out. So that's the way I do that. So that's the way we have to do that.
Sounds interesting, really. I mean, it shows that it also needs a lot of subconscious active mind for this. That even though you are into a day-to-day routine, back in mind you always have an alarm ready that it can be triggered anytime. And at that time, you need to back to the war room.
Yeah, but yeah, this is not just for a infosec guy. I mean, if you are an entrepreneur, I will put it in right. Assume that you are running a factory or running a business. I mean, I usually quote Satya Nadella. If you
Oh,
remember, like an year before, not even a year, I think 6 months before, when Sam Altman, the OpenAI board versus Sam Altman, there was a situation where Microsoft was heavily
was going
invested.
on. Right.
The incident started on Friday evening US time, right? And there were whirlwind of things, like multiple things
Yeah.
happened, right? Like first thing is about they said he is already out. Then the next thing about they were telling board is already out. Then they
Right.
were telling that they are going to onboard Sam
Sam.
Altman in
Yeah.
Microsoft, where he will be becoming a new division or a new income
Yeah.
BU where he will be head of it. Then on Monday morning, when the Nasdaq opened, when the US market opened, everything settled, right? So you think about it on a CEO perspective. From that Friday night, 5 o'clock US time to 10 a.m. Monday morning, think about what Nadella was doing. He would have been negotiating with every other guy to set the things right. Okay. So
Right.
today, when the same situation came in now, there was an open offer by, you would have seen our Twitter CEO, right? He has put in
Yeah.
an open offer for them to take
That
over.
was right.
That has been they said that that was an anonymous decision by OpenAI to reject it completely. Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk put it in,
Elon Musk.
but the OpenAI together rejected that offer. See, now you
Exactly.
see that, right? Like, so if you say that no, he will come in only when required, that 2 days it would have not happened. So it would have been also a midnight call probably for Satya, and Satya would have sleepless night for those 2 days, right?
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, if you are a CISO, there is an opportunity of you to become an entrepreneur and also a CEO like Satya Nadella is the motivation I want to give to the team here. So that would help them.
That's absolutely true. And I would like to quote this entire section with this one line that once you are chief, you remains be a chief. And you have to lead in that way.
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
That's interesting. So with this, let's understand about some more about the career perspective, Mr. Shiva. And want to
Mm.
know what are the roadmaps for someone starting their career today? What things they should actually plan?
So you're asking me what all they have to do? Is that your question?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, the first thing first is don't just follow your syllabus. I think today's generation with OpenAI and ChatGPT and everything understand that the book is outdated, right? The books are
okay,
outdated. Your syllabus is outdated. Even if you are running, you are in a university which is having their own syllabus, they are updating every year. But that's an year. Damn, things change every day, right?
right,
So don't follow your just syllabus. So I get to see this. I mean, I'm not being sexist there, but I see that between the men and women or boys and girls, right? Boys go to the syllabus as the last thing. They don't care what is in the syllabus, either to prepare or
right,
either to do look into it. But girls look into only the syllabus, they never see beyond that. That's, I mean, maybe changing today, but most of the time I see that, right? So every time I tell that, like, think beyond the syllabus, what you have to look for, right? What is happening in the industry, what is happening. So if you
okay,
are thinking about what would be my certification, so next question is, if I'm not looking into my school syllabus or my college syllabus or what I have read in my college, what can be my certification, right? So
right,
again, I see here when people talk about if in information security, first thing they talk about is CEH. So can I
okay,
become an ethical hacker? Because everybody thinks security is hacking, right? They start with ethical hacker. CEH is
right,
what we. I will slightly put it in a different perspective rather than looking into hacking, which is one vertical of it. I would look into put it at broadly, right? So if you're more interested in technicalities, right?
hmm.
If your skill set or your learning and your interest is more in technicality, take a ISC square root. So which
Oh,
is I would put in CC first, right? So cybersecurity is that certification they have it as CC, right? Cybersecurity certification, CC. That is very basic, fundamental. But you have
hmm.
started, you're a fresher, or you're about to finish your college, start with your CC. If you're technical acumen, start CC first. If you have been in a career for 1, 2 years, irrespective of the syllabus, go for CCSP there, right?
Okay,
Then you have like 5 years, 7 years experience in any of this vertical, think about CSSP. So this is more technical, you will find. Okay. But your basic nature is finding fault. So if you are is that kid in the family, they give you that post by somebody and asking you to validate is there any mistakes, and you find 3 mistakes irrespective of whoever posted it. You are the guy who is finding fault. So then you are
hmm.
fit to be becoming an auditor, right?
True.
So if you are going to become an auditor, again, I would say start with the same CC, then take a
Okay,
CISA, right? Which a CISA is after 5 years, but you can
oh,
start preparing for it. Then go
right,
to CISA. That would help
okay,
you there, right? So this is on security, but I would then take a step back again. Not just security, everything today is on cloud. Everything runs on cloud today. Take one cloud certification, irrespective of one, right? Like you can take a cloud practitioner from AWS or a fundamentals from AZ, which comes from Azure, or even Google Associate, right? Like security engineer certification. Take one, right? AI, today, there is no brand AI certifications. Don't fall for going and paying to somebody and paying a lot of money. So it need not be a scripted certification path, but get to know what is happening, right? Like something newly comes in, what they're talking. So what is DeepSeek different? How it is OpenAI running? How it is
hmm.
cloud running? What they are running? How do they learn their models? What it is? I think this funda. So become curious on understanding in broad. So that's more important for you rather than thinking about I will learn one thing, right? Like I know there is a famous quote from Bruce Lee, if you have read, right? Like I fear a person who has practiced 10,000 kicks, the
Right.
same kick 10,000. Yeah, you would
Right.
become that specialist over a period of time when you know you are learning. But when you are starting your career, be a generalist. Try to go broad, not even just security, right? Like go broad, then go deeper. That would help you to grow faster. I will put it. As Bruce Lee told it, when he has become a master, that whom he will
Right.
fear, right? He will not fear us. No, when he is 6, he will knock us off easily. So become a generalist, then a specialist. That's the way I'll put it.
That's true. That's true. Uh, with this one more thing comes into our mind. Since you are at a position, you have been a long journey, so you have hired many security professionals. So, what makes a candidate stand out in an interview, as per your experience? As you mentioned about Bruce Lee. So Bruce Lee was master in his
Hmm.
martial arts. We know Mr. Seva is masters in CISO. So while in that
I'm
position, yeah. So
not.
what he really looks to see, what type of candidate really stand out in an interview?
Okay. Okay, again, I have to quote another one. If you tell me I'm a master, so I quote again Jeff Bezos here, right? Always day one. So I don't see myself as master. I see always myself as a learner. Definitely, because see, you can be a master. Somebody else can tell you. If you think in your mind, then your learning stops there. Your continuous
Correct.
learning needs to be there. So I'm always day one there. Okay. So coming to the question on interview, right? So I will steal a quote from my boss. He quotes it quite often. So he looks, so that's the same thing I do also. I don't use that words, but when he quoted, I was able to relate. It is about attitude and aptitude.
Oh,
So your attitude is about your how you handle things, right? How are you open for getting things? Right? That's attitude,
okay.
right? Like that's it,
Okay.
right? So if your
Right.
attitude is you are a nerd, you are really great, but you are rude with people when I am feeling it, right? You think that you have a superiority complex, right? That attitude
Okay.
is a problem. I may need you desperately for this job, but when I
Hmm.
get you in, but I will not be able to get things what I want from. So attitude first, right? Then it's aptitude. Then your aptitude is about how much of that baseline you have for that role. That is what I look for. So that's attitude and aptitude. But I would look higher the attitude better and a minimum baseline of the aptitude. That's the way I look for. The former should be the highest, the later should be minimum baseline. After
Hmm.
baseline, I can improve, you can improve. I'm okay with that. But attitude and
Right.
aptitude both needs to be looked into.
That's interesting. I also keep it in my mind because it's also for me as a young learner to be keeping with me my whole life.
Definitely. That's the
Thank
whole
you.
intent. That's the whole intent.
Thank you for bringing that. But there's this second subline we really look for that. That can you share a story about an unconventional career move that actually helped you becoming a better CEO? Because there's always a story with someone. There's always some hidden ups and downs and a learning unconventional career moves that actually help people. So what was that helped you?
Okay, that's an interesting story. I mean, okay, people, you already quoted me 25 years experience, so people will know my age. I can tell that, not a
No,
problem.
still you look very
This
young.
is
Now, nobody gonna question on that. That's absolutely fine.
like, I guess I have to tell you that unconventional is, which usually doesn't help people. It helped me, right? FOMO, fear of missing out,
You're
right?
right.
So this is 2002, 2003, right?
Hmm.
So I was working in a bank. So that bank, so that is the time where the computerization went full blown. So people were having manual to branch automation to core banking was that time, 90s and late 90s and 2000s, right?
Okay.
So that time, when I was working in the bank, RBI brought in a mandate that you need a CISA certified or CISSP certified individual in your company, in your bank to run your audit, your computer audits, right? Like he wanted that. So that time we don't even know what is CISA. We don't know CSSP, and it is beginning of internet era. I think Google itself
Oh.
was 98, 99, right? So we get only to know from the people whom we see, whom we hear. And my
Mhm.
bank was having their head office in a small tier three town, so we get to know that. So when we knew that this is one, so we were the computer officers of that batch, which was hardly very few in the banking industry where they were recruiting. So all
Okay.
of us were interested in doing that, but the point was, I was doing transaction switch implementation and ATM implementation. It was going in full blow. That is in career
Okay.
side. And in my personal life, my father decided to get me married. I got married in 24. So that time, this too was happening. I wanted to do, all my team was preparing. I was not able to get into that, but it
Oh,
stuck in my mind behind me, right? So all the people who tried, most of them flunked. I remember only one guy passed
right.
it, and he become a infosec guy today. After
Okay.
him, it was always in back of my mind. I wanted to do my CSSP. I kept it, and after a very long time, I did it. But that made
Hmm.
all the difference, right? Like otherwise, I would have been more a payment specialist. I would have continued being an probably the DGM or a GM of a bank on I mean, I would have been a CIO. I put it like that rather than a CISO.
Yeah.
But
Right.
that decision of doing a CASSP that time really helped my career. So that's the way I will have to put it.
Sounds interesting. Really amazing. I mean, this is something one which everyone should keep with them. That the opportunities comes in this way. It really need to be kicked out if possibly get to be done. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
as
I
far
mean, in
as
that, sorry, Anas, one point there, right? See, this again, if you have read Steve Jobs, he quote that, right? You can always connect the dots backwards. You don't
right.
know what you do will help in your career, right? So don't think in the other way around. If I do a CASSP, I will become a CISO. It doesn't like that. I would say that you liked something, explore, do it. It would help today, it may help tomorrow, it may help after 10 years. Don't worry,
Right.
right? Like what you learn never go waste, right? I said go learn, but create genuine interest. So rather than looking into outcome of it, right? Like if I do CASSP, I will become a CISO. Don't do that. You always look into, okay, I liked something for some reason, so do an retrospect why I like it, right? Then you
Mm.
explore that. So if it may help you today, it may help you after 10 years. That's the way I will put it, Tanis. It would really help. That's the way it helped me. I didn't know when I decided to do it will be ask me, I mean, it will make me become this today. Or I didn't know that even I thought I liked it, I want to do it. So that's the way it should look.
Right, interesting. We should always follow our learning path rather than being our own expectations or imaginations what we are looking is going to be happen. Interestingly, that's
Exactly.
nice. True,
Exactly.
very
Exactly.
true. But as far as you mentioned about the bank, so now there's one thing comes into my mind. How important is industry specific knowledge? Adding to this layer, I want to understand, does fintech CISO needs a different skill than a healthcare CISO?
Okay, there are two answers there, right? Like the short answer is I would still see that industry specific knowledge is required. That's a
Hmm,
short answer. It's required, right? But how much of it required is what I want to double click on, right?
that's
See,
true.
if why that industry specific knowledge is required, I'll tell you. So there are
Okay.
specific regulations for specific industry. Like if you
Hmm,
are working on fintech industry, there would be your central bank regulations, your payment card regulations, PCI DSS comes in picture.
right.
So you would have privacy regulations coming in picture for every country. So how you protect your customer data become a thing. So that specific regulations you would need to, right? If you're going on healthcare, we talk about HIPAA. So we again talk about the customer health record privacy. How are you going to protect it, so on and so forth. So I would say at least you need to be proficient, right? It is that not that you can't switch. So am I today fintech industry CISO? Can I become a healthcare CISO? Doable, but I would think that you have to be upfront, right? If I'm getting selected for that, to the people I'm getting recruited, I'll tell it. To the board, I will mention it. See,
Hmm,
I know this as baseline. I don't know this, but I can
right.
become proficient in X timeline, and I will do that rather than boasting that I have specialization or I am generic and work everywhere. I will tell that, okay, this is all I know. This all is required for the role which I am picking up. So I would get proficient in it. Expert, it takes time. Definitely, you can't become an expert in a short period
True.
of time. But I think, but the people whom you are getting interviewed, no, they would also acknowledge that you are upfront about it. So I
Hmm.
think it is required, but not that it cannot be gained. You can still do
That's amazing. I mean, that's very good that we really need to have it, but also it depends about the which sector we are into and what we are actually looking for, as you mentioned. That's interesting.
that.
There's one buzz I always listen about that is the CISO toolkit. So how do you explain about the complex concept to someone who is non-technical on the board? Because it usually happens with everywhere, but here your role
Hmm.
becomes more critical, but because your response times leads to be very minimal in respect to somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so this is something I believe I possessed before even getting this role. So you need to be a storyteller. That's very important,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So if you want your or I mean, if you have been a teacher or you like teaching, then you naturally become a storyteller also, right? Like
Okay. Right.
the whole point is you should know how to simplify and then convey that information. So you should be a storyteller. So you should put an analogy. You should have a story attached to this and explain that you should be there, right?
Okay.
So I think I honed the skill post my marriage because I'm a person who's an extrovert. I want to speak, but I can't speak confidential information everywhere else, right? Like I always talk about anything happening, anything of my whining to my wife, and she is not technical. She's from music background. So
Okay.
I simplify. I tell that okay, this is the problem. If I have to put it in analogy, this is the way it works, and this is the way I'm handling. So that helped me. So now if you're telling me if somebody is not technical, I have no problem. I'll immediately able to pick up a story. I'll tell that, okay, this is the way it works. The same thing is what is happening. This is what I need. So that's the way I
Okay. So one thing that also comes into our mind now that we sometimes need to motivate people, not only convince people about something
correct.
which you want to tell them, because sometimes we need to get a task also done very smoothly and very cohesively. So what is your approach to build and motivating a security team?
Okay. So it's very simple, right? Like you have to give them the purpose, which is
Okay.
inculcating the why, right? Why are you doing? So maybe one story I can put on over there. So this is during a so this is one of another company where I was a CISO earlier,
Okay.
and they were running a product. which was powering a financial inclusion product. I think, I mean, for the non-fintech background people, I'll tell what financial inclusion means is the people who are underprivileged who can't have even a bank account, similar to what we have Jandan in India, right? So Jandan is something which is even people who don't have money, they can have a bank account is what we started in India. But in
Okay.
some of the countries, running a bank account itself is you need a minimum money to have that, right? Like below poverty line people will not be able to have it. So one of this country where you don't have this, and then they were running it on a wallet, which is like if I am a daily wager, if my weekly salary gets credited to my wallet and I have to use this to do my transaction. Okay.
Okay.
So this issue occurred during COVID, where in that Islamic country where it was close to Eid, the bonus have been given and they have to withdraw money and the transactions are failing. So
Oh.
this is all backstory. So the three beeps, the same thing if you have to remember. So I got a call at night 2 o'clock where I have to wake up and see what is the problem. They called me because they thought, is it a cyber attack? They wanted to know what is happening, right?
Right.
So few minutes I went into the call, I had a conversation, I was able to identify it is not a cyber attack, but the transactions are fake. Okay.
Mm.
So this is a multiple upstream downstream system. So I am part of one entity where we are running one product, but there are other products through which it comes to me. Then we give to somebody else before it gets paid, right? So
Mm.
I can feel that my team who is in the call night 2 o'clock, they're not motivated because they know that the problem is not in theirs, right? So they think that okay, it's not my problem. So somebody else has to look into it. What I can do. So I
Right.
stayed back during that call. So I was able to explain. I said, see, you put yourself in a shoe. You are a father, a guy who's 40 years, going to buy something, clothes, kapda kana for your family. Eid is coming day after tomorrow. And this is
Okay.
not happening now. I mean, you feel even today, right? You tap your card. You have like multiple cards today. You go to an upscale restaurant, you pay, you eat, you know. I mean, you don't have to prove to yourself to anybody. You know who you are. You tap your card. The moment he says it failed, it strucks you. Your face changes. Your emotion
Right.
changes. Then you grab. You try to explain, right? Because you think money is denied. He will think something about it, right? But that is when you are when you're a settled, established guy. So that is an underprivileged guy. He's tapping somewhere. He's not able to pay money. What is going to happen? So I told them. I said, "First stay put. Tell where is the problem, right? It's
Right.
our problem, others' problem, not a problem. Let's troubleshoot." I was there with them all through. That is like it went almost 2 o'clock. It started. I think next day 4 o'clock it went. I had my food there. I was on the call all through the time we spoke. Right? We solved the problem. So that helped a lot. I had nothing to do with that. I was only a security guy there. But that is the problem which I have to look into. Right? Like that point, that team, when I left, they were very happy. Even today, there are people in the team in touch with me, talk to me about it, right? Like I'm nowhere related to them. That's the whole point. So if you explain your why, rather than telling somebody who's coming on an incident, telling that boss, this is a security incident, come, tell him what it would cost, whose money will be lost. Then you know your team will with you. I mean, you may
Right.
break down, you may fail, your team will still back you up, and then they will support you to make it happen. So you have to
That's
explain the why. That's why I'll put it.
you sounds to look like a superhero in this scene, actually, the way you have explained about the scenario. I mean, I understand one thing that comes into my mind with this, that one of the three skills which we're actually discussing, which never people talk about when the CISO is up to there. We talk about negotiation, we talk about empathy, we talk about the patience. There I see your patience, there I see your negotiation skills also coming out there, which is unsaid by somebody, but that is the key which really worked out there as far as I understand from your explanations. That's interesting. With this, there's another thing comes to our mind for our learners also to know that can you share a situation where these soft skills were more valuable than technical expertise?
Okay. No, okay. I'll put it right. You definitely need both. See, if you are only a soft skill guy, right? So if I'm going to explain, see, if I'm trying to tell you something, if I'm trying to be preachy with you, right? You need to accept me first for accepting, right? It took
Okay.
on to tell to me, right? Who are you to tell me, right? So
Right.
for that, you need that. So if you established your position, see, it's like if I know my technology, then tell people that boss have empathy, then they understand, right?
Hmm.
If I don't understand his problem and preaching him that have empathy and patience, and said bullshit, get lost. I am not
Right.
going to do that.
True.
So I would see that you need to have both. But the problem happens, right? When you learn more. And when you think that you are the smart guy in the room, the problem it is like you think I am inevitable. Then your soft skill takes a backseat. You think that I have two horns. I don't care who you are, comes in picture. So I think there you
Right.
have to remind yourself that you need to have soft skills. But only soft skills won't help. You should also have knowledge also. So that's where your continuous learning comes in. So you have your continuous learning, which will hone your technical skills. Then you have, since because you have technical skills, you don't think that I am inevitable, nobody can replace me. Then you have to think about your stoicism. Nothing is inevitable. In the brink of thing, everything changes. So you should remember that. I'll put it like that.
It's absolutely interesting. But with this, there's another thing we need to understand then how we can stay technically sharp while handling executive responsibilities.
All right. So again, right? Then it is about curiosity. So and then also you have to be broad. I think I touched upon it earlier when we had another conversation, right? So don't follow only your technical subject. It sounds unconventional, right? Like you can't say that you read non-technical things to become technical, but that's really true. So I just
Absolutely.
quoted about stoicism, right? Like you have a book called Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday, if you have to pick it up.
Okay.
So he talks you about what are all the egos. Before, I mean, I have not picked up. I know Rayan. I have been reading a lot of his books, but I've never picked up the book because you have something in your mind. You don't have an ego, right? Like I never carried. And very recently, like an year before, I picked up the book and I looked into. Then he talks about what are all egos are, right? So this is what we are talking about. Technical skill is actually an ego. I think I know more than anybody else is an ego. So I didn't
Mhm.
know, right? So knowing that stoicism. Then example of Tamil's a great Indian banking strategy is a book. This
Okay.
book is about different frauds which happened in banking industry in last 20, 30 years, right? A very interesting book. This tells you about frauds which would happen, right? Then if you're talking about Robert Greene, so if you're talking
Okay.
about 48 laws of power of Robert Greene, right? Like what people do to maintain their, right? So this all will help you to know. So if you know the 48 laws of power, then you understand how a social engineering works, right?
True.
Then you understand what a hacker is looking for. So I would, and then if a fraud occur, you would think about what is behind a fraud, why
Mhm.
an insider threat may happen, right? Then it will be easy for you to relate. Then you know what are all the insider threat, what are all the guardrails I have to put in for my insider to know that I trust him, but I always verify the zero trust part, right? So
Mhm.
that helps. Then if I go and tell somebody that for zero trust implementation I need X number, X thousands of dollars or X lakhs of rupees, if I go and tell them, if they ask me why the hell we have to do it, we trust our people, then you have to explain, boss,
Right.
no, people psychology changes. The loss of power tells you that how it changes. Then you explain, then people understand. Right. So to be technical, I would keep you to read non-technical also. Don't read just technical, read non-technical. What to read, I will leave it to you. Right. Like you have 100 YouTube channels tells you, courses you go for. InfosecTrain, for example, is a very good market enabler on training. So I'm not
Mhm.
going to tell you that what you want to do. Right. Like if you're asking me who's a good trainer, I would tell you. That's okay. I know you guys. Otherwise, I would have not even come into the conversation, right? I have been with you guys. I know who you are. So, but
Right.
what to do, how to keep yourself sharp, you would know. But I'm telling, don't just do that. Also look into unconventional way of looking into non-technical things, which will help you to be better in technology. That's the way I'll put it.
That's very interesting. I mean, it's very brief, crisp, but very clear to understand that we have to keep balance in that. Then only we'll
Exactly.
able to win the actual battleground we are going to face out there. That's interesting. But now this has bring a lot of curiosity because you have brought some about these hackings and all these incidents. So let's talk about some real world CISO challenges, like navigation of the challenges, how CISO usually do that, how he comes into his stealth mode where he just have to get everything actively done.
This is really tricky, right? Like I can't tell all my incidents outside, but I can tell a dated incident, but it would still help
Yeah,
for interesting for the team over here, right?
and this is related to infosec, not related to you anything related to your family or any other issues which you have faced out.
No, even that, a security incident which has happened, I can't put it in, right? So that's the reason we can never get an award. It's like a soldier or a spy who has succeeded in doing something for his country, but you can never tell that out, right? Like the country cannot
Correct.
acknowledge it.
That's why
Same
I
thing is
use
for a for a CISO
that's
also.
why we use the word stealth mode. You usually work on the stealth mode and get everything done and then disappear. Who did that?
Correct, correct. So let,
Yeah.
let me look at the world knows this for sure. Like, let me take one example, which we have, I mean, everybody encountered, we also encountered how I handled it. I can tell it. Like, this is the classic Log4j example. If I am right, this was in 2019. If I vaguely remember, 2019 or 2020, right? So Log4j hit us exactly during Christmas. It was during the Christmas week. So if you have been working with the Western world, you know that the month of Christmas, I mean, when the December starts, the slowdown starts. Then people will not be available. They will be on long holidays. All those things happen. And at that time, I was working for a US company, right? So Log4j started. Then we know that it was only few. I mean, I think when the issue started propping up, I was trying to look into in our what do you call it as asset register on talking about is there any application using Log4j. It was before software composition analysis, so we don't have tools which will run the scan and tell me how many is running. So I had some of legacy software running, some of microservices running. So, but we were still able to find out whether we use Log4j or not. With small company, I had only few engineering managers to reach. I was able to found it very easy. So even that was difficult. I mean, easy in the sense how many people I have to get the data, but they were all traveling. Somebody was giving me answers late, or so on and so forth. 1 2 days, I was able to collect info. We are not impacted directly. But the supply chain was a big nightmare. So you don't know, you use a firewall. You don't know the firewall is impacted with Log4j. And your customer is a US established customer. He has to go and report to NASDAQ if he is impacted. And I don't
Right.
know because my supply chain vendors are still cramming whether we have it or not. Big nightmare. So, but it brought in a lot of learning there, right? So you know how important is supply chain. You know how important is even challenge and established supply chain vendor. It's a big company, firewall company. You assume that you would have all the securities. You will have gone through all of them. But now, when this kind of incident happen, then it makes belly up for everybody. You don't know. It's not just for you. It is for everybody. So that is one situation where I learned you can ask questions to anybody. Nobody is big. Too big to fail. Doesn't. I mean, it worked in banking industry. It doesn't work here, right? The too big to fail. It would happen. Anybody big can fail. You can always ask questions. He may have 100 products, 1,000 products, which are
Right.
really state of the art. You used one product. Your one product is what you need to be worried about. So you should ask questions. You have to get answers. And proactive.
True.
You can't be reactive. After the incident, we have to cram. Before the incident, we have to go. That's my lesson learned there.
That's interesting. That's very nicely you explained about that. With we would also like to add one thing: the budget fights, the budget battles. Actually, we have seen about the CIO versus CISO or CEO versus CISO. So, can you just let's give a light on that and how you win the budget battle for security initiatives? So, because that is something which is really going to come under you entirely. So, we want to know how you battle this.
Yeah. See, okay, I would take a step back, right? Don't see it as a battle. That's a way. See, because the ego comes there, right? Like I propose something, you guys didn't agree. So I would think it a little different. I mean, see, it's all easy to preach, very difficult to follow. This doesn't say that I am a master. I still struggle with the same, but at least I know where that goes, right? I can understand, right? So you have to think win-win. So you have to think that your budget is not sanctioned. It will not see the budget. I mean, this comes in CISO space. So if you have been in prep session, he tells that, right? You can never have an unlimited budget. So you assume that you have a product which is $100. Then you are spending on $1,000 security tool which will get implemented. Then it's not an ROI, right? So you have to work in a constraint. So you should know what is your products or your services your company is offering, how much I am spending. And in that, I would get a limited budget. So in that limited budget, how much I can do with open source, how much my team can run it manually, how much I need to automate and I have to buy the tool. This is something you have to prepare even before going into the budget conversation, right? So then you explain. So when you go there, you tell that, of course, they will be, even after all those preparation, you go there, if you tell that I need $200,000, they will look at you telling that get lost, I can't give you. Then at least you can explain. You can tell, let's see, I am doing this all manual. This is making my turnaround time this much. I am doing this with open source. This is giving me some indirect cost where I am spending on my staff because somebody is doing on open source. I have to maintain, I have to spend for their salary. Then comes my tool, and this tool will enable me this much. It will reduce my turnaround by this much. This is why the $200,000 comes. So that's why I put it in. Yeah, but there are people I have seen who do pivot ways, which easier way is that instead of 200,000, tell it as 500,000 and reduce it to $200,000. That has also been done. I
Okay.
don't follow that approach. I don't know I am right, but yeah, at least I have a reputation. My boss think that I don't lie when it comes to budget. He knows that if I said I have put in efforts, I have put in efforts on that. So it helps
Mhm.
you there. That's a point I'll put it.
That's there's one thing that really comes, that this battle is not such battle. This I personally observe from the thing that you have explained is about the strategy, how you plan the things to convince and negotiate with people, what the basic requirement is really need looking for. So with this, I would like to add a layer of question with you. I want to know from you, what strategies do you maintain?
I really hope my daughter or my wife is not looking into this podcast or this session which we are doing now.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know. I'm not, definitely not a master. I don't know whether I'm even good in that, but at least I know what to do, right? So you should know to switch context. You know to switch off. Okay, so so even before the session, so I was just looking into what all we have to talk here. I was just thinking about it. Then my wife came to me to make a payment. I said, "Why are you disturbing me?" But I know after that it's rude. It's not fair to tell her, right? Like, because see, you should know to switch the context. You should know where you are. What is your primary responsibility? If you're in office, you can have, your phone call coming from your wife. You need not pick up. But the next call comes in, everything you have to stop and pick it up. Same way
Yeah.
when you're at home, your home is first, right? Like you are doing something else in the weekend. This even podcast I'm doing here. This is something for my interest. Here I come
Right.
second, they come first. But in office, I come first, they come second. Right? Like you should know your context switching. You should know, and you have to know to switch. You have to prioritize point in time. So now I am talking with you. It is only talking with you. So when I am with them, I should. So that needs to come. So, but as I said, it's very easy to preach. I learn. I continuously learn to make it improve. Yeah. So yeah, that's the way I should say work-life balance. How do I put it? I have to put it like that.
That's interesting. I mean, I how flawlessly you explain about the things. That's the USP I've till now observed in you, Mr. Silva. With this, I also got the quote of Bruce Lee. Remember that be formless, be like water. So if you be like water, you can be settled in any situations and any conditions. That's really shows great about yourself. That's
That's
interesting.
another quote of Bruce Lee. I love it. Yeah, I agree
Yeah,
that. Be like.
yeah, right. So with this, you cannot deny with one thing. But like talk about in the serious scenarios, of course, there's a time when there's a disagreement with the C-suite executives. You have seen about the security priorities because people come from different backgrounds, some different ideologies, some different thought process. So what do you do actually? What do you do in handling such disagreements with other C-suite executives about the security priorities? Because it's all about security. So you need to be at the best to get the all people on boarded with the right approach.
Got it. Got it. So, yeah, I think you mentioned it. So, it's not just CXOs with other CISOs also. So, you would have my customer CISOs with me how to do that. So, not just with internal CXOs, with external CISOs also with you have to, right? See, you should. So, first point is you need to have patience, right? Like I was the guy who become suddenly get into a fight very easily when I started my career 25 years before. Probably the age or the career, I don't know what changed me. Now I have much more patience level to discuss, and rather than getting into a mode of argument, I can still discuss until a point where I can continue doing
Okay.
that, right? So the very simple point is, you have to, that you can agree to disagree, right? So you have an opinion, I have an opinion, right? So if you have two different opinions, you always agree to disagree. That is the
Okay.
first point, right? And next point is, you are trying to negotiate. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, right? That's okay. Don't have personal grudges. It's point in time. This conversation, this person. So you asked me some question, I answered you. You like it, you don't like it is your point, but at least I should not have it. So that will make you to have personal opinion about you, and every other conversation honest with you would always with that prejudice I will come to you.
Mhm.
So you should
Right.
have that. You should not have personal grudges. So that will not help you in long term. So it is point in time. Sometimes they agree, sometimes they disagree. Sometimes you want to do, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Still helps. That's the way I put it.
That's true. I mean, even this also you have passed is very swiftly the question that you just not to get into just convince everybody, focus the right approach, make them believe about the outcomes we are actually looking for, and get them believe about the vision you are actually having in your mind for the belief, and that will bring with the patience as you mentioned about it. That's interesting. One more, let's dive into some other parts as well. Let's we talk about the inside talks. So what's the best career advice? We want to know. I mean, maybe it could be different, but we would love to ask you what's the best career advice you've ever received from a mentor.
Okay, I don't know. I'll put it like this, right? I may not have one best advice. I have many best advices I got it. So, straight from starting of my career, I had a boss who strictly say no for any compliment which comes from the
Okay.
vendor. So
Okay.
this is I was not in security then. I was a computer officer. He was my boss. He will ensure that no, he say no. Even a diary he says no, right? Oh yeah. So those kind of advices I have seen. So that made me very clear that how ethical I should be. So any gifts which comes on favor, I ignore, right? Even if I am forced to, if it's a Diwali, they bring some sweets. When I mean, now I can't be that swift like that boss. 25 years before what he was, I am not able to be that today. But at least if sweets, if you're coming and giving me as a sweet, I take it, open up, give it to my team. I don't bring it to home. I said, okay, open up,
Oh,
have it. I have no problem, right? Then any other gift to favor, any other conversation, my vendors know me well. They don't even get into that conversation, irrespective of the company I work for. So that is, I mean, I'm just telling like that. You have many career advice. This is not that he told me explicitly. I learned what he was doing. But if you're asking me what was the best one, talking about which helped your career acceleration, that's your point of question, right? I'll tell about this is in HSBC where I was working for my boss. I remember then my boss was this advice, right? Play long game. So
oh,
we all today the entire world plays short game. We all look for results immediately.
mm,
Even a public listed company CEO have to play quarter on quarter. What is his income? We
right,
all have instant gratification problem that I want it immediately. I want to fulfill immediately to do it. Play the long game, right? That so you don't worry about short term outcomes, right? Like the example of this ethical, right? I know I'm ethical, somebody is not. I may see that he's getting a lot of things, I am not getting it, right?
right.
But the point is, if you play long game, you know that after 6 months, 1 year, 3 year, the guy who did fraud may end up in having a problem, but you continued having your career growth. So play long game, think long term. That's the way I will put it in. He told me in a context, but I see that it applies to everything in your life. Play long game. Even with your girlfriend, with your wife, play long game. Don't for a short thing go and fight. Leave it. It's okay. It's for long term relationship with that partner rather than a short term fight which you
Satisfaction.
want to prove yourself today, right? So play the long play. So it will help you career progression. It will help you in your personal life also. That's the way I'll put it.
That's interesting. It's this is one of the another learning I want to take with me today as well about from this, that when you're planning something, play for long term instead of being only for looking for the short term outcomes. So with this, we wanted to know there's also a thing which we call about the networking. So how do you build and maintain such professional network in security community?
Okay, so okay, I think it's difficult when you start your career, but after a mid-level you reached, it becomes more overwhelming. So it's like again the classic example of the certification, right? You may too many certification vendor, you don't know whom to choose for. So I know InfosecTrain, which I was telling you, right? Like similarly, these clubs are too much today because today the information is what they want for. So if you are calling them, they are calling you that I am cold calling, right? That I want to sell you some product. If they tell me, I may not even pick up that call if I don't know the number. So
Okay.
they, for them, it is very difficult to get my by my time. So then the other way to do that is uh, to sponsor something with this clubs, this communities, and then get your contacts, and then they use that to come to you, right? That's a way it
Hmm.
also run it in the market. So I
Right.
look for so I choose the organic good clubs which I know, communities I know with which I want to be part of. In some places where I'm forced to be part of, I will be muted. I don't care to go and talk about it. So one
Okay.
such club where I am part of is the CIO club, which is very good. So there it is about it's a community where we are very closely knitted. We have a lot of communication happen on things happening in the country. So for example, that CrowdStrike event which happened before few
Right.
months, if you remember, CrowdStrike was a last mile patching platform used Microsoft Patch when they were testing. It was not working, and then it failed a lot of systems. Right, that time our WhatsApp group started buzzing, and before even I got to know the incident from the WhatsApp group because there are a lot of messages because beep coming. I was like, what is that? Then I know. Then every place where we were, we know what to do, what not to do. Don't do this. Don't reach there. do this, this is working, this is not working, part of system start working. Every hour we were able to know what was happening, right? No vendor, nothing. We were just people talking. You see that you have that network, it is running, it will really help. So that kind of group you have to choose. A lot of clubs running, but how many are useful you should choose, and what you want to be part of that you want to choose. That's where your ethical flag needs to come in. Do you want to be part of it? You don't want to be part of it. So my default answer is no. If you're asking me, you want to be part of any community, I say no, thanks. But then I look for if something is really organic, really helpful, then I become part of it, then I use it. That's the way I.
That's
But if
interesting.
you're
Very
starting your career, I'll put it another way around because you can be part of everything, how much ever you absorb it, and then
right.
you choose for a period of time what would help you in long term, and then be part of it. That's the way I.
That's interesting. So true, so true. So wisely you mentioned about that. That you need to be part of actively participating and organically authentic groups or clubs, but because there you get to know immediate response instead of being chasing to get some connection with the people. That's so nice. With this, now we'll move to the next part, because I am a person who makes a lot of mistakes in my selections and
Everyone.
planning. That's so do everyone does that. So what are some career mistakes you see aspiring CISO usually make? They should avoid doing that.
Okay. That's a very good question, actually. So I think it understanding this helped me also as a CISO in my
Okay.
career, right? Like I have seen, okay, a lot of this CISOs who came earlier in the industry were all from audit background. So audit is very clear. It should allow you to do only things which are allowed as per your policy process. Everything else is a no-go. So everything what you documented, do. If it is not documented, the default answer is no. Right. So it has become in the industry that the CISOs are a naysayers. They are all guys who comes and tell you always a right. So that becomes, and even today that's true, because see what happens is because of the complexity of the take, right? So
Right.
you don't know which one you have to say yes, and they ask you something, then the default answer is no. I will not allow you. So then we become as a problem creators, we create as a business disruptors rather than business enablers.
Yeah.
So that, because you don't know, I mean, somebody comes and asks you, can I use this AI tool, can you give me approval, I have to start tomorrow. You don't know damn that what is that AI tool is about, what is the data going, what is the architecture, what you have a lot of things to answer, and you have other things running already. So your default answer easy to tell is no. But the problem is it will come back and haunt you. So the way I say is don't be a naysayer. So I say like you explain, you tell them, boss, I need to understand this, give me time. You have to tell it, right? Then you can say that, see, you need to make this choice, you want to do it, do, but don't ask my approval, right? When you're asking my approval, then I have to look for things. Then you should understand the risk behind it, right?
Okay.
So if you're going to do it, what is your impact? You should understand. Do you understand, right? So if you're asking my approval, then I have to review that and tell you, give me time. And when you say a no, don't say a simple no. You do your homework, do your research, and tell that this is the reason I'm telling you. That's one, right? Then other thing is, again, I was giving you the examples of vendors. Too many vendors come to you, they tell you that, boss, I can solve this whole problem with magic of a single button, single purchase. Actually, no tool do that, right? Like you should know your environment. How do you handle it? How this tool will solve my problem? Will it solve my problem? So don't believe that tools will solve my problem. I buy the A tool. I mean, the classic example is ZT, I mean, zero trust. So I buy a
Right.
zero trust tool like put it in, it will solve my problem. No, zero trust is a process rather than a tool. There are multiple tools should come together to form a zero trust. You don't have
Correct.
one tool which will solve all your zero trust, right? That
Correct.
that example I can. Then other point is we all become a loner. So you said about the stealth mode, right? So if I
Right.
have a burn down, if I have a problem, I keep the problem with me. I don't take it to people because people don't acknowledge my problem. So
Okay.
I think don't be that guy. Ask for help. So seek.
Hmm.
You can't be a person who don't seek help, right? You go ask help. Whoever needs to help you, go ask. See, only thing is we are all wary of that getting an answer no. And then that ego comes and tells you, can I go and tell I don't know, I need help there, how I can do that? Don't worry,
True.
go ask. The worst case scenario is they may say no, it's okay. So this all I can see. Like because I have become a CISO now, how I can tell, ask for help. You can, but damn, you don't understand, go and ask. You have to ask. That's
Right.
what I say. So last but not the least, this too shall pass. Okay, all the
Hmm.
things pass. You have a good baseline, security baseline, you think everything is settled, boom, you get one incident, everything goes upside down. You are in an incident which is not closing at all, you think when it will solve, something else changes, everything gets solved, right? Like this too shall pass. It's good or bad. This will happen today. It will get solved. So you stay put. You will be able to solve it. That's what I'll tell.
So amazing, so amazing. Interestingly, this shall too pass. This is one of the most important lines which I also keep along with me when a tough time comes, even a good time comes. You need to be same at both situations and control your nerves and emotions for the time. Now with this, you have added a layer. As far as I remember, you said about you have to speak. Don't just keep things with you only, and a thought of leadership. So how important is this public speaking and thought of leadership for a career achievement?
Okay. I'm an extrovert. I keep speaking, so I don't know whether I'm the right person, but I can try giving an answer. See, speaking gives you mental clarity. So
Okay.
it's not. I mean, I'll just tweak your question. It's not just your career advancement. It is about your personal advancement, right?
Right.
When you speak, when you reflect, you get clarity. So whether you can speak it out everything, you speak, right? Or if you want to write down things, you write. So I have been writing regularly in LinkedIn before a while, very regularly. In between, I stopped again. I started now recently.
Mm.
See, this helps you to reflect, right? I mean, you can't put in everything there, but then you know what I can put in, what I can't. So I can't go and tell that my boss denied my budget. I can't go and put it over there. But I can go and tell the same question you asked me about a budget negotiation, how you can do, I can write it over there. So it helps you too. So it's not just speaking. I would put it in about reflecting yourself. So something is very personal. It can't go in your LinkedIn, you can't speak it in public. Damn, write it in your diary. It's okay. Write
Mm.
it down. Write down what you are thinking about it. Write down what you want to vent your feeling. It gives you mental clarity. So it's not
Right.
just for career advancement. It would help you that reflection even in your personal advancement. Your entire life will advance better when you reflect. So that would really help.
That's interesting. Thank you. Thank you for bringing the light on it. For sure, we will try to bring it down. So really helpful for everybody we are watching today. So with this, so we'll let's end come to the end of our discussion. But you also know we cannot end a discussion without discussing about future. And these days, when we're talking about future, there's a lot of buzz about new technologies. So we wanted to know what's the role, because since you have seen this journey in a very longer period of time, so you better have an idea what your predictions for the upcoming future roles of CISOs. So keeping that point of view, that learning of yours, that long run, long term, how AI can change the CISO role in next 5 years.
So, Anas, that's a point, right? Any session, any discussion cannot go without AI. That's a point. So, yeah, we have to also speak about AI. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of buzz in the market today, right? I don't know when you I mean, I'm talking about ChatGPT, which is like 1.5 years. So there were some what attack GPT was some subgroups coming in telling you how to. I mean, it is both about red teaming and blue teaming. A lot of things coming over there. So I am a curious cat. I look for different things happening in the world. I was looking into it, what it will help, what it will do. All of them I was looking. But coming to it on a CISO role today, right, which is like every other vertical. So even for an engineering manager, this would be applicable. For me, also the same thing, right? That overall time, the turnaround time to make things happen would change. So if
Okay.
I'm giving an example on my engineering peer, right? Like he may tell me, Shiva, what I took for a sprint planning for 3 weeks, I may reduce with this tool with 1 week, or this 3 weeks sprint of 40 story points I was running with X number of people, I may do it now with X minus Y number of people, right? Either way it may come. But
Mm.
for me and a CISO, if I am trying to do the same thing here, it is all about my turnaround time improvement. So either I am talking about a triaging, I am talking about some research required, something to be done on my SOC, everything, how fast, how my turnaround would be, which is on my defective, I mean, deductive controls, like, or my defense mechanism, what I have. But the same thing, the other part of it would also become a problem. So
Mm.
quantum computing is making every other encryption obsolete, right? So
Right.
quantum computing, there were two, I don't know whether you saw, there were two announcements in last 1 week. One is
Right.
about something from China coming that they have found the encryption methodology which could withstand the quantum computing.
Right.
Then Satya Nadella came out telling that they are bringing in new chips on quantum computing,
Right.
which will work better. This too came in, right? So this is going to change everything the way you encrypt today. So your encryption change is going to change damn all through, right? Like all through your journey, you are going to change those encryption standards, right?
Hmm.
Similarly, you would so this what it mean quantum computing may break my encryption. When my encryption is going to break, my attacker may grow. So my attack will become better because the AI people will be with the AI, they will be able to accelerate the attack. So for example, a brute force attack previously is not possible. Today it's possible because AI can make it much more better. It can
Right.
put things much more better. So it is going to impact you on the offensive side. It is
Okay.
going to help you on the defensive side. So you should strategize suitably, right? But you have to take one day at a time. You have to have a strategy how I'm going to use it, because again the tools won't work. Somebody will come and so everybody have their company name, the website name become .ai now, right? Like instead of .com, it is .ai. So you should see that what are they using, what is really an AI put in picture. Every other security vendor product is telling you, I have
Hmm.
integrated AI. What did he integrate? What is he taking the data from you? What is he using it for learning? Can I do it? Do I have to buy a product? Can I use some open source? Can I use them which is coming on a Gen AI product which is available in the market with minimum investment? All those things you have to think through. And also the other thing, right? Like every service and product will say that I want to integrate AI. Then that question will come to from your customer that what my data is going to AI for learning. So that side
Right.
also you have to look at the third dimension of it. You have to look for how what is my guardrails on the data going to AI I am protecting. So all this, right? Like in my tools, my defense, I would have AI integrated in my tools, which will reduce my turnaround time. My number of attacks will go up when I look into my offensive side of it, right? That is the way. Then about how my data is not used for the learning, I have to look for. That's the way I put it. All right.
So we'll shift to the next part. Okay. So we also wanted to understand, of course, these things are evolving around us. So we wanted to know what new skills usually should future CISOs be developing now onwards only. What are those technologies or skills you think should gonna have?
Okay, so then I'll go back to the previous answer only, right? Like you have to think about, you should have a point of view on AI and not just AI, machine learning. Because see,
Okay.
there is a lot of what they were doing. I will put like lipstick on the pig, right? What they're doing earlier, they say that with the word AI and ML and tell you that today that I do that, right? So you should
Right.
understand how this work, how the data travels through, how the data learning happening. So put yourself now. There is a lot of data. So with even social media, that data went up. Now it is unprecedented with Gen AI. You have a lot of data. So you think through how or the data, what is the sensitivity of the data, what kind of data comes to you, what kind of data goes out, how it is to be protected. Those things you have to look for. So if you're asking about skill, I would look into it, keep it broader, which is like a learning model of keep it broader and go deeper where required.
Okay.
Understand new tech coming in, and AI and ML are coming unprecedented. Like too many tools will come to you asking about how I want to do what I want to implement. So learn the fundamentals there that you start today rather than tomorrow. Then you will be able to know how to secure that.
Sounds interesting. Now, the next thing I want to ask you with the story which you have said to us back in time when you was in your bank, when the RBI regulation came to implement regarding the CISSP guys in the bank regulation for controlling the security measures. Something similar we are going to see in the market now, which we call CAIO, the field of artificial intelligence. There's another role which we have started seeing another chief who will taking care of entire this organizational decisions and everything. So how do
Okay.
you see the differences in these of them?
Okay. I don't know. Okay. Honestly, I think this is an example we can put it between CISO and DPO, right? Like you need a
Right.
separate DPO or you want to have a CISO, right?
Correct.
Similarly, I want to also look into a CTO should also be able to fit in the shoes of a CIO because it all depends upon how much of AI you use it. So probably a CIO would be required for an open AI or for a cloud or for a Google Gemini. They may need it. I don't know whether you would need a CIO for a company, a banking company, or a bank, or even a service company like Infosys or TCS World. I don't know.
Okay.
But see, it's a need of the hour. but the skill set is in rarity. So if I can come and tell that I am CIO ready material, I don't know, nobody will trust me, or the same thing will be in the market as well. So I would put into it as maybe it would come over a period of time, but it may also be combined with some other skill set also. Like CTO can also be handling the shoes also. I'll put.
That's very finely, because we cannot still say a lot about on these things, but we can say as it really not required in that broader aspect. That's
Correct.
true. But as far as I know, there's always a fear of something in everyone's life. I don't want to bring it down reality, but yeah, in even in the role of profession also, there's always a threat. There's always a belief that this should not happen. So, what are some security threats that keeps you up at night?
Right. It's an interesting one, right? Like, okay, I want to quote psychology here. Like,
Okay.
I like psychology. I read a lot of Robert Greene's book, right? There is a
Okay.
book called Laws of Nature. Okay, so
Okay.
this there is a lot of things where he talks about laws of human nature, not laws of nature, laws of human nature, right? He talks about human nature, how we behave in different things, how what greed can do to you, what envy can do to you. There is laws he used it, like he said, laws of covetousness, which is basically covet over. We call it right. Covet is basically closed. You don't
Okay.
show anything else as covet and security. Same thing. Eh?
Mm.
Law of covetousness, law of envy, so this is all things which will make you to understand how a human will change. See, you know,
Okay.
when there is a murder, when somebody conduct a murder, if you're going to a prison, talk to a murderer, multiple murderers or interview, you see that there was a it's a momentary decision. They either repented today or they are in denial today, different. But that moment they did it, right? How human behavior changes is phenomenal, right? So for me, guardrails are good, right? Like I have my house protected with my gate, my locks. I know that is one part of my protection. I know how secure it is, what kind of attack may come on my door, whether it is protected or not. So in India, you may have two doors. For example, if you're going in South Africa, I was reading recently, you have also the grill door gates. We keep it in our front gate. They
Mm.
also keep one for the bedroom. So, which is basically not just protecting your house, it is also protecting your life. They have two gates. They have one grill gate for your front end, and they have a grill gate for your house also. I mean, your bedroom also, like two grill gates they have, right? So similarly, if you're trying to put it, the human nature, what it does is very very difficult. Like I can guardrail my company from external attack. Insider threat, how a insider will change is the point which is very very interesting. One disgruntled employee, right? One greedy employee or one peer whom we trusted that will not have a problem will change things, right? So that is something which is very difficult. So when I look into it, that's where the zero trust I also put it in place. Like I trust you today, but even if you change your behavior, then the trust should still protect me, right? But it is very difficult because your outer walls are easy to protect, but inner is always difficult because you have to trust people with you. So that's a way it works. So inside a threat is what I would put it on, which can give me a sleepless night today.
True. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this up to everyone. That's interesting. Uh, I think we have reached to the end, and whenever we talk about something which you're going to sum up, so when yeah, the last question will sum up then.
Right, sure.
Yeah. So, okay. So, where do you see the biggest opportunities for the innovation in cybersecurity?
Yeah, I think I touched upon that in the beginning of this conversation, right? I mean, this set of questions you are asking for about AI, right? So overall, the opportunity I would see is that reduction of a turnaround time. Like we
Okay.
call it as we call it as the time it takes to detect an incident, right? Like that time needs to come down. It cannot be in hours, right? So that is something called idle time, which is basically how long somebody was in your environment. That's a problem, right? And a hacker who is being into environment, how much is in stealth mode where you're not able to find them. So I would
Mhm.
look into the situation of reducing my dwell time. We call it as dwell time. So there are times you take for identifying a problem. You can't take it in minutes. We have come to a situation of it should be in seconds, right? That's all your tools have to. And you have to reduce your dwell time to zero. If somebody is coming into your environment, it should be in seconds. You have to find them. So that opportunities are there in the place of how we are going to reduce that turnaround. That is one side. So that if you have
Okay.
reduced, then overall your incidents will reduce. So I would be very happy if somebody comes and tell me that last 1 year in my company I had no incident, I'm really happy. That's what the opportunity is. You have to go for that near zero or zero incident what we have. That's why I look.
Okay. Sounds interesting. Sounds interesting. Amazing. So, with this, we are about to give a sum up of our session, Shiva. So, thank you for bringing a lot of wisdom, information, knowledge to us. But yes, I'll give an open view to you to give some resource recommendations if you have, or any sort of advices you wanted to give from your end apart from what we have discussed, so that then we can give a closure to this.
All right. Okay. Good point. So, any resource. Okay. I think I touched upon it during our different
Right.
conversations. Well, let me put it right. Before today, you are not having a scarcity problem. You have an abundance problem. So
Mm.
before some time, people were not having food. So we were all talking about famine. We are talking about Bengal famine and all. If you see, no, if you read about it, it's really bad. But
Right.
today we are in abundance problem. We all have obesity problem. That's the same thing when it comes to the resources also. Today you don't have a problem of resources available. A lot of resources available. I
True.
would look for take time to identify the resource which will give me what I look for before consuming the resource. That's the way I put it. So I'm not going to tell it go look for A, B, and C. Go look for this book that will get outdated. I'm telling you a course, right? I said do your research. Feel free. I mean, I know InfosecTrain. Talk to InfosecTrain if you want to take a training. Understand the capability of the trainer. Understand how much of my I'm going to prepare for CASSP, for example. If I tell that they are going to give me 40 hours of training, I may have to spend 100 hours to close it. 140 hours I want to calculate. You validate that 40 hours of training will help you to fast track. If it is not going to fast track, challenge. You can let go InfoSec. I mean, giving you as an example, right? But ask that. So take time to select a resource rather than go for it, because everybody, like I want to create a YouTube channel today. I want to give 10 recommendation for you to become CSSP. Everybody was going to come and then click it and then hear me and then give me support. But that is
Right.
not the point. You have to look for what will help me in my situation. You may be a novice, then you may go for somebody who gives you examples and fundamental who is not going deeper. It's okay. You have been expert already in couple of areas. You look for the area where you are look that way. So look for the fitment for you and then select your resources. Take time to select the resources, then go there. I will put it like that. Anas.
That's really amazing. I mean, it's very interesting. And with this, we are about to sum up our session today, and I'm very thankful to have you. I mean, I must say, this discussion has been very optimistic. You, as a person, seems to be very optimistic, bringing up the great understandings of more complex things also. This discussion is going to be great for everybody who is planning to look something for CISO, and also they wanted to know how the life of CISO really goes up. This is all about for them. This has been an incredible deep dive into of CISO journey. Sivarama sir, thank you for sharing your wisdoms. I must say, with our learners, it's a really interesting thing going to be in on air very soon for everybody. For everyone turning into learnings, or you wanted to do any certifications or any upgradations, you wanted to bring out sort of changes in your life routines, this has everything for you. We hope this discussion is very fruitful and inspiring to all of you, and navigate your career, navigate your plans in your own cybersecurity careers. To subscribers, follow us and let us know what new really wanted to us. We will for sure on board Sivarama sir again, once again, to discuss something related to CISO itself. Thank you so much for bringing your values, sir, bringing your time. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.